Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to our JDL Prime digital event. It is so good to see everybody here today. Can I get a show of hands? How many people here today are ready for financial education? I'm going to look on my screen here. There we go. I see Vivian putting a hand up. Excellent. I've got a few more people coming in, connecting to audio. Some more raised hands. Beautiful. Well, welcome to the event. There's going to be a few places that I'll be looking tonight. I want to let you know right now. I've got my screen set up right here to be able to see all the slides that I'm presenting today. Then I've got a camera right down the line here. So I'm going to be looking down this camera as well, and this lets me look at everyone's faces on my Zoom screen right to the side here. So that's how we're going to roll today, and I'm going to share my screen right now. So everybody should now be looking at our blank screen here, and we're going to begin the JDL Digital Prime event. So welcome everybody. Now my name is Sam Gibson. I'm the National Client Manager here for Just Do Life JDL Strategies. And today I want to talk about our mission. Our mission is to raise the financial intelligence and all its applications for all Australians. This is what we as a company set out to achieve, because so many of us have inefficiencies in our lives that we just have no idea on. In fact, 92% of us will go through life with all of these unaddressed inefficiencies, leading to an unhappy, unfulfilled retirement. So what am I going to deliver for you today? I want to deliver to you an educational platform that shows you how you can learn to pay your mortgage off years earlier. Know how to achieve financial independence and how to start building a property portfolio for an early retirement. I'm going to show you how you can legally minimize your tax and how you can start building it perpetually. We're also going to look at how you can build your financial life by showing you real estate opportunities to build that portfolio beyond what you're doing right now. Because I'm sure everybody here has their own experience as far as what they have right now for their wealth planning. What we aim to do is show you a strategy that supercharges what you're currently doing to give you the best outcome for your future. And that strategy focuses on integration. So integration is where we take many different concepts, combine them together to create that strategy. So this is how it looks. It's by accumulating assets, minimizing your tax, and then also decreasing your personal debt. We call that here a chain reaction strategy because it looks like this. The more that you invest, the less tax you pay. The less tax you pay, the more you can reduce your debt. The more you reduce your debt, the more you can then invest. And so this is a cycle that continues to tick over as you're still just doing life. So let's first of all start with the pain and the state of play in the current environment. So let's talk about the average Australian's life experience. And I'm sure a few people here are going to agree with me, but number one, Australians, we work long and hard. There's a lot of us out there who do extra hours, overtime. We are very much committed to our work. Now, what this means is, in general, we get a mortgage, we get a debt, but we actually stay in that debt for the majority of our lives. And we never get out of it until the very end when we decide to sell and to retire. So number three, we have no specific goals on what we're going to do with our lives until much later in life, sometimes when it's too late. Number four, we have limited access to knowledge and strategic planning to minimize our taxes and debts. And of course, number five, what we're here to address today are the huge levels of inefficiencies that most people face. So let me ask a question here. How often have you checked your finances? How often have you sat down, looked at the numbers? Because we're going to talk about numbers later on, and numbers have no feelings. But ask yourself, ask yourself, when was the last time that I really sat down and started looking at a budget, looking at my assets, looking at my debts, the terms of my loans, to work out where I'm going to end up in the future. And I'm going to come back because I'll show you a system for doing so. Because the three main reasons for why JDL exists are: number one, we lack financial education. We really do. It's not taught in schools. The amount of clients that I sit down with and meet for the first time, and they say, how come I was never taught this? Why didn't I learn this? It's because it's not taught in schools. Number two, that means that we are unaware of what our rights are with our finances. We're unaware of how we can actually minimize our tax legally. And number three, we find it hard to know the best strategies for debt reduction. And this is key. The banks are in the business of keeping you in debt. As we go through today, I'm going to show you how a mortgage is actually structured. And this may be extremely surprising for you. But really what we want to do is address the lack of experience in terms of investment decisions. So what are we currently seeing? We're seeing a false sense of security driven by income. And what we mean is this: the average Australian will earn their income, but they're also going to match that income to their expenses. Now, this is not a strategic game. And in fact, it's easily explained by asking, how long does it take for the average Australian to spend a pay rise? Let's actually ask, I'll ask the chat here. How long does it take? Everyone, how long does it take you to spend a pay rise, do you think? Let's get some answers in the comments here. I'll tell you right now, the average Australian will spend a pay rise in about 6 seconds. Just like that. As soon as you know that that extra money is coming in, your brain is wired to start looking at how you're going to allocate and spend that money immediately. So for some, you might think, oh, I can get a new car. I can take that holiday I've always wanted. Extra $6,000. Oh, amazing. That means we can go for dinner more often. All these tiny factors at play, they work on our subconscious and we end up spending almost every dollar that we earn. That is how we are wired to behave financially. Now, you also work for 3 months of the year for free. You work for the government. If we take the average income of $95,000 for the average employee in Australia, and we map out the income and the tax, January, February, and March, everything that you earned in those 3 months goes straight to the ATO. It's gone. We look at this as an inefficiency, because what if there was a way that you could actually utilize some of that lost money back into your own finance economy? And I'm going to show you that later today as we go through. Because from an efficiency perspective, what is the return on the $24,000 of tax that you paid? It's a big fat 0%. Now, I'm not saying here that tax is bad, and definitely don't go to your accountant and say, hey, stop paying my tax for me. We all need to pay tax as far as having better roads, better education systems, better health systems. But if there was a way to utilize some of that tax more suited for your financial economy, and if there was a system that was going to allow you to do that, doesn't it make more sense to put that money back to work for you? And we'll explore that as an option as we go. So, when we're looking at this system where we're earning good incomes, but we're spending every dollar we have, and we're paying everything that we pay to tax, we're addicted to a zero-sum game. Or in other words, we're just never going to get ahead. And that's why it's very common for us when we're meeting with the average Australian to see exactly what I'm about to show you now. Because let's break down the data. If the average Australian is 46 years old, they have a house worth $900,000. They've got a mortgage of about $590,000, less than $165,000 in their super. And there's a reason for this. It's because we're going to break down right now the true nature of your dream. What is that dream? Well, it's the great Australian dream of having a house. This is your default permission. Your default permission is one day I want to if you haven't already, I want to buy my first home and I want to one day pay that home off. And you'll probably end up looking like the couple that's on your screen right now. That's how long it takes. It takes 30 years on the average mortgage to pay off a home. But I'm going to break down the real insight for what personal debt is, and most importantly, what is personal debt actually doing to you? The easiest way that I'm going to describe this is by looking at a $100,000 mortgage. So pay attention here, really engage with these numbers as they come up on the screen. So let's say you've got a house already, you've got a big backyard, and it looks a little dry. So you look to your partner and you say, hey, do you know what? I reckon we could put a pool in that backyard there. How much is that going to cost? So the pool guy, he comes out, he does the measurements in the yard, and he gives you a $100,000 quote. So what's the logical next step? Well, we need to borrow $100,000. So you'll go into the bank. Now your bank manager, you'll sit down with them and he'll say, all right, you want to borrow $100,000? Let's work out the terms of the loan. We'll lend you $100,000 over 25 years at a 6% interest rate. Now that 6% interest rate, that means that your repayments are only going to be about $644 a month. Now let's freeze, because you as the consumer, the client, you've heard $644 per month. So you look to your partner and you say, hey, that seems like we can afford that. Can we afford that? You look back, yeah, I think we can afford $644. What do you reckon? Yeah, we can do that. And that's where the decision is made. So you will make your decision on that home loan based on the amount it costs per month. But in reality, the total repayments for that loan are $193,000 over the 25 years. So how does this happen? Well, let's really break it down step by step, year by year, because this is how mortgages are structured. You've taken out that $100,000 of debt and you've just spent a year making your repayments. After 1 year, you've paid $7,730, but the principal's only come down less than $2,000. So you might think to yourself, what's going on? You walk back into the bank and say, hey, we paid you guys $7,500. How come the mortgage has only come down $1,500? And he'll put on a smile and he'll say, this is because you're paying the interest component first. The interest component. What is interest? Well, it's the profit that the bank is going to make by lending you out that money. And they want to make that profit first. So what they do is they structure the mortgage. So every year that you're paying predominantly interest first. So after 5 years, you've paid nearly $40,000 to have the debt come down by 10. 10 years goes by, $77,000 of repayments to pay down $23,500. At year 13, you've repaid $100,000, the amount that you set out to achieve, but the principal's only come down by $34,000. You've still got another 66% of the loan to go, even though you've paid back the $100,000. And this is where we start seeing the switch, is once the banks have made the majority of their interest, now you start to see all of your repayments going towards the principal. But let me ask you a question. If it's going to take us 25 years to pay back that $193,000, what do most people do after living in a house for 10 years? Well, again, they might sit there, they're sitting in the pool, and they look to each other and they say, hey, honey, I think we earn a bit more income, don't we? They'll look back and say, yeah, we earn a lot more income. Well, what are we doing sitting in this pool in this house when we can buy a bigger one? So they'll go to the bank, they'll find out how much more money they can borrow, they'll sell the house, and they'll take on an even bigger mortgage, and they'll restart the debt trap from year